Welcome to Surrounded by Sports, the podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Perkins, and today we are at Pine Forest High School with the new offensive coordinator, Tyler Brooks. Tyler, how you doing?
Good, man. Exciting times. Excited to be here.
Yeah. Tyler has just gotten his new offensive coordinator. He has gotten I assume this is probably one of the best offensive coordinator positions in the state.
Yeah, I don't know if you're getting better than this one. You got a national championship banner outside and 2 state championship banners. It's pretty hard to beat.
Right. Yeah, congratulations.
Appreciate
very much so. Yeah. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a little bit of the history of Pine Forest. We're going to talk about what's coming this year, and we're going to talk about what I consider to be a very unique, however, I think we're going to see that it's the right path.
Yeah, for sure.
That you took to
very
be
very unique, very different, but it ended up. I wouldn't ask for any different path. It was pretty fun.
Yeah. We're going to do all that and more, and we're going to do it after this.
You are watching Surrounded by Sports, the podcast hosted by Kevin Perkins. This show emphasizes how sports and life intersect while showcasing the Gulf Coast. And now, Surrounded by Sports.
Welcome back. Our content is sponsored by Faust Builders, and you can see what Surrounded by Sports is up to on Spotify, YouTube. That's where you're watching this or listening to this, Spotify or YouTube, X, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and now let's talk about Tyler Brooks. Tyler, let's go back to kind of you're a Milton guy.
Yep, Milton guy. A little bit of New Smyrna Beach in there, mostly Milton.
Right, but I kind of want to focus because I think coaching is a huge aspect of your life, but I think the military shapes you.
Yep.
That just from our conversation.
Yep.
I kind of want to go to that. How did you wind up in the Air Force?
So I was not a good athlete in high school at all. That's the funniest part about this whole thing is you get into coaching thinking that you were a star-studded athlete in high school. You played college football, and then you just got done. I was a terrible athlete. I was primarily a basketball guy, really more than football, but I was terrible at both. I was a role player at best, but I always knew that I enjoyed playing sports. I didn't want to just not play because I wasn't the best. So when I graduated high school, there wasn't really no opportunity to play at the next level for anything.
Right.
So it was kind of one of those things where I came home. I told my dad, I was like, look, I don't know what I want to do, but I got to figure out something. And so we were leaving the mall one day. We drove by, they're actually outside the Cordova Mall still. It's a chain of recruiting offices. It's like the Marines first, the Navy, Army. And I said, let me just go talk to a few of them. So we went and talked to the Army. I was like, that's not my thing. The Marines, I said, yeah, I like this. And then we went to the Air Force, and they kind of just gave me all the answers that I wanted to hear without even telling them the questions.
Right.
They were saying, like, you can pick your job. You can do whatever you want to do in life. We're going to do what's best for you. You just got to serve your time. And so I left that day, actually, with a date for MEPS, the same day. Not saying that I was going to go in, but at least go and get cleared and see if it was an option.
Right.
So fast forward like 2 weeks. I end up in Montgomery, Alabama at a military base, Maxwell Air Force Base. I get clear for the Air Force, and they sit me down. They're like, hey, you just want to pick your job while you're here? And I was like, I don't even have my phone on me. I don't call my dad. I don't do nothing. And so I had a list of jobs that I wanted to do. And I asked the question about the jobs, and they said, actually, your number one option, I was going to go work for pararescue and logistics and stuff like that. And they said, your number one option is here. You can leave on Valentine's Day. And this was July. So I said, cool, I guess I can make up my mind by then, and I signed. So I left in the span of 2 weeks of graduating high school. I had a date of going to boot camp for the Air Force, leaving on Valentine's Day the following year. So I ended up leaving, graduated May of 16, and I was gone by February of 2017. So that whole 7 months, I just got in the best physical and mental shape possible. I'd laugh at my dad all the time because I probably got in way better shape than I needed to because the Air Force boot camp was not hard at all. I was probably in way better shape than I needed to, but it was fun, man. I recommend for any kid out there that if you just don't know what you're doing, just give them 4 years.
Yeah.
4 years is nothing. You go in there and you're 18, you come out when you're 22, and you got your whole life ahead of you.
Right. And you were 18 when you went in?
Yeah, I was 18. I was
right.
18 years old.
Right. And you spent 7?
I spent 7 total.
Right.
Spent 7 total.
Did a couple tours overseas?
Yep. So when I got out of boot camp, I graduated top 2 of my class. So they got to pick your base that you go to, and I had a list. It was either Japan, Hurlburt Field in Destin, or up in Tennessee at a reserve base. So I ended up coming back home. I said, why not? A lot of people don't get that chance. So I went to Destin, Florida, at Hurlburt Field Air Force Base. was there my whole 7 years, and then I got lucky where about 3 months in, I got approved to deploy, went overseas to the Middle East for 7 months, spent 7 months over there. Had a blast, got deployed with a few SEAL team units and some pararescue rangers. Can't say everything that happened, but it was fun.
Wow.
It's funny because you graduate high school in June, and then the following year in June, you're sitting there and you're in the Middle East, and you're like, okay, this is a little bit of a different speed.
Yeah.
But it grew me up more than I could ever know.
Right.
Like you don't have an option when you're there to just sit there and be lazy or be scared of life or anything. Like you're around dudes that will sit there and die for you, so you gotta do the same thing for them.
Right.
So I ended up doing that tour, spent 7 months there, came home, ended up going to Hawaii for a couple months on like a TDY training mission. That was all fun. That wasn't scary at all, obviously.
Right.
Kept staying at Hurlburt, and then towards the end of my career, which I didn't know yet, they said, hey, you want to go back? And it was after COVID. Everything had settled down. The world was back to normal. But I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go back. So I went back, ended up doing 6.5 months again, different team, same place. And I think there is really when I knew that I had given it everything I had. Like I was going to make the Air Force a career, but I was almost done with my bachelor's degree. I knew I wanted to start my master's. And so when I got back from there is really when I started volunteering at Fort Walton Beach High School.
Right.
So I really got on board with them, just volunteering, wasn't even a position coach, met a lot of great people there. And I think once I got back from that deployment, I had realized that I wasn't built or passionate about football, but I was passionate about coaching. And I was passionate about having an impact. And I didn't really care what sport or what facet it was.
Right.
But I think that time I spent at Fort Walton Beach High School, we weren't very good, but I was around some incredible guys like Chip Petrie, who's now the defensive coordinator at Crestview, Josh Pulliam, he's the head coach at Fort Walton Beach.
Right.
Toby Merez, he's like one of the best wrestling coaches in the state ever. He was helping us out with football. Josh Harrison, just those people, they knew I was 19, 20 years old,
right.
and they knew that I wasn't trying to step on no one's toes. I was just trying to learn.
Right.
And those guys probably shaped me into where I'd be today. It definitely wouldn't be possible without them.
Right. And when do you realize that like football is, you volunteered with the football team,
Mm-hmm.
was it just a natural progression, or does like offense and the X's and O's and the chess game of all that begin to pique
At
your
first,
interest?
I was really I want to call myself like a graduate assistant almost, like a kid
Right.
that just got out of college who don't know anything. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'll hold this bag for this drill, or I'll film this drill. Just getting out there and learning. And I think that's what helped me a lot was I was in the military and I was nothing but a senior airman, and then I became staff sergeant.
Mm-hmm.
So I was used to being the bottom guy on the totem pole and doing all the grunt work. So when I got to football, I think it almost looked impressive to them, just that I was willing to do everything and
Right.
willing to do it the right way. So I think that helped me gain some respect. And then by the time after that season, I actually got promoted to varsity running backs coach. Coach Petrie became the head coach, and I was still active duty this whole time.
Right.
So I think I knew it wasn't really X's and O's, but there was one day when I was at work and I was like staring at the time clock to get off to go to football practice. And then I was like, you know what, this whole time I've been sitting here excited to be at work and excited, but now I'm excited to leave and go do something else. I said,
Right.
maybe I found something.
Right.
And I was like, I'm just going to give it a day. And then that season, having an actual role, we were able to beat Choctaw and Crestview that season. It was the first time in years that's happened.
Yeah.
We had played Niceville really close. We won some really good games. I think we ended up going 5-5 that season, which to us was everything, because
Right.
you had been 2, 3, 4 win seasons. Now you're beating some good teams. And so I think that year was what really did it. That
Right.
year, just being a part of it, seeing how you coach a kid on something and then it happens on a Friday night. And I was like, after that, I was like, I'm wasting my time. I was like, I think I found it.
Right, and you were like, when you were still in the Air Force, you had struck a deal kind of that you could go to work early at Eglin, and then
Yeah, James Smith and Darius Core. Those are two names that have nothing to do with football, but they shaped my life more than I could ever know. James Smith, he's a retired lieutenant colonel. He was my basically my overall boss at the office.
Okay.
Darius Core was a master sergeant. He was my superintendent, and I went to them one day and I said, look, I know y'all don't know me as well, and I know I just got here, and I know I've been on 2 deployments, but this is what I want to do in life, and I'm willing to do anything I can to make it happen. I was like, I'll skip a lunch break. I'll come in at 7 a.m. and stay all the way through until I can leave. I won't leave unless everything's done. I'll come in after it's done. I was like, I really just want to make this happen. If you can give me these 2 hours every day, I'll make everything else happen. And they both looked at me and they said, cool, but the first time you mess up, we're going to call you out on it. It's done.
Right.
So, and there was no
you didn't
reason.
mess up.
Yeah, there was no reason they had to do that. They could have easily just said, no, that's not how the things work. This is the military. We're at war. But I think same thing. I think when I came home from those deployments, I came home a brand new person. Right. I wasn't like a bad kid or immature before, but when you're out there in the desert for 6 months and like it's on you, like you are yourself, your livelihood. I think I just came home a brand new person, and so I never messed up. Now I think there was a few times where I got close,
right.
but I never messed up bad enough where they took it away from me. So those last 2 years of active duty, man, I was 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. at night, just making it work.
Right.
Eating along the way.
How do you wind up at Catholic?
I have a mutual friend. After my last year at Fort Walton Beach, I didn't know it was my last year. One of my best friends is Brian Ahatz at he was at the PNJ. Now he still lives here. And we were out at the beach one night, and he was like, have you ever thought about leaving Fort Walton since you want to get serious in the coaching? And I was like, man, that's just where I'm at. They've given me everything. So he said, let me just put you in contact with a few people and just see what would happen.
Right.
He gave me a few numbers. Coach Adams, he gave me Coach Adams' number, Mike Bennett's number at Escambia, and then Milton at the time. I don't remember who was there. I think it might have been Coach Gillis' first couple of years.
Right.
Or it might have been Harry Lee's.
Okay.
And I just looked at all three of the guys, and Catholic was the closest of a drive I looked at for Fort Walton Beach. It was a straight shot.
Right.
So I was like, cool, I'll call him. And I called Coach Adams. He said, sure, we can talk one day. And I go over there one day, and it's him and Coach McDowell, Kerry McDowell, sitting at the desk. And I think I'm just going to have a sit down, like a talk about what's going to happen, whatever. And Coach Adams had every inclusion. I go in there, and Coach McDowell doesn't even let me sit down. He just tosses the marker. And he's like, all right, let's go. And so it was like a job interview. Like I had no clue.
Right.
I had no clue what was about to happen. Coach Adams was very, very open. He said, this is what we're looking for, and if you want to do it, you can do it. And I explained to them I was still on active duty, so I could give them that time slot I had worked out, but it wouldn't be anything else unless I got out, and he was cool with it. And Coach McDowell tested me on a board, and I guess I did good enough, or I left, and they offered me a job. I ended up coaching receivers there past 3 years.
Right. Now, Matt Adams,
Yep.
he's now the
He's the athletic director.
AD over at Catholic, and
Yep.
Kerry McDowell, who is your boss here, the head coach,
Yep.
who brought you here from Catholic. So when you're there, when do you start getting into seeing the big picture of it? Because I would guess when you're running the film for both sides, you're learning the big picture of football.
Yep.
And then you start to focus on the offensive side of the ball when you're the running back coach and the wide receiver coach. How closely did you work with Adams, who's a very strong offensive mind, and how closely did you work with Kerry? Because you have to have a special relationship with Kerry to be here.
Yep. So me and Coach Adams were pretty close. I went to him for everything at first. Honestly, still do sometimes when he'll accept my phone call.
Oh, he still answers the phone?
Yeah, he still answers the phone.
Good.
For now, I hope. Let's make sure it still happens. So yeah, at first I was receivers. It was a brand new offense. Keep in mind, when I was at Fort Walton Beach, we were triple option. We didn't have no great, crazy receivers or nothing. So now I'm going from triple option, and Adams is air raid. He'll tell you he's spread, but he's air raid. He wants to sling it every single time.
Right.
So it was like a life adjustment. So that was fun. I got to learn that offense. He taught me through everything. We had some crazy athletes at Catholic, and I went from Fort Walton Beach, where if you're 5-5, like the whole town is applauding you. And at Catholic, if you go 5-5, you better find a new job.
Right.
Because there's an expectation level.
Right.
So I think that was one of the best things that could happen in my coaching career was it's like, okay, if this is what you really want, here's the test we're about to give you. So that me and Coach Adams had a good relationship, got to learn from him for 3 years. Probably a lot of the offensive stuff we do here is either from him or some version of what he did. But then when I was there was a day where we were setting up for my very first game at Catholic coaching. And Coach McDowell had put me in charge of the film because I told him I did it at Fort Walton. And I wasn't filming it, but I was just setting it up. And so I go up there, and he puts the box down, and he's like, I'll be right back and show you how to do this. So when I was in the military, if somebody puts something in front of you, you're not going to sit there and wait for them to get back. You're going to figure out what you can do.
If you know what to do, right?
Correct.
Right.
And I was like, I think I know what to do. So I opened the box. It's like a list of how-to instructions. It wasn't the same film we had at Fort Walton Beach, but it was the same concept.
Right.
So I set up the entire thing by the time he gets back with an extension cord, and he's like, how'd you do that? And I said, I opened the box and I read the setup. He said, I just want you to know I've asked like 4 other coaches to do that, and not one person has ever opened that box, yet alone be able to set the thing up. And I was like, are you serious? He was like, yeah. And I knew when I did that, it like something clicked in his mind. He didn't tell me at the time.
Right.
So fast forward, that game goes by, and we show up to practice on Monday, and that very next week, week 2. And so after practice, the kids, same thing as we do here, we wear practice cloth, we put it in the laundry bin, and then we wheel it into the washing machine and we wash it. So I walk by, and Coach Mack is putting laundry in the laundry machine. And I was like, Coach, you ain't got to do that. I'll do that. He was like, what? And I was like, yeah, you're the defensive coordinator. I'm sure you got better stuff to do than load the laundry machine. Mm-hmm. So he's like, all right. And then he gives me that look again, and he walks away. And this is the second time I've seen that look, and he hasn't spoke on it. And I don't want to say anything because I don't know if he thinks like, yeah, this guy's trying to be a know-it-all.
Right.
So I load the washing machine. I get ready to leave. It was he was the last one there. Coach Mack's always the last one there, I feel like.
Right.
And he calls me in his office, and he sits me down, and he's like, what do you want to do with this? I said, what do you mean? He said, do you want to like make this a career in coaching, or are you just doing this because you want to have fun and you just enjoy being out here?
Right.
And I said, well, I'm about to get out of the Air Force and make this a full-time job, so I want to make this a career. He said, if you're serious about this, he said, you've shown me enough in 2 weeks that I'll tell you every single thing I know, and I'll give you everything I got, but you got to show up every single day and ask me, hey, I still want this, or remind me you still want this. Because the first time you slack off after you tell me this and I give you my time, I'm going to lose my mind on you.
Right.
And I said, yes, sir.
Right.
And after that, it was me and Coach McDowell just off to the roof. He's like my second father.
Yeah.
I ask him for anything, life advice, football advice. We finished that first year at Catholic. Year 2 comes around, the year we went to the Final Four. He sits me down. He's like, all right, are you ready to be a coordinator? And I said, heck no. He's like, well, let's spend this year making you ready to be a coordinator, so that way one day if somebody offers you a job, you don't have to blame me because I didn't have you ready.
Right.
And Coach Adams would do that too, don't get me wrong. But Coach Mack, like every day, like an hour after or 30 minutes before, it was like, hey, if you were in Coach Adams' shoes, what would you do for this team?
Right.
Now, he would ask me that question, but he would already have the answers ready. So he knew like if I was going to pass or fail the test.
Right.
So that second year, and I think that third year, maybe without him telling me, he was trying to see like, look, if I ever get a head coaching job again or something happens, I think this is the guy that I trust to come. And I think he was just preparing me for the opportunity, to be honest with you.
Right. So when do you find out that Kerry McDowell is leaving to come here? And when do you find out that you might be the offensive coordinator? Is that all one thing, or?
No, so I knew Coach Mack was interviewing for a few head coaching jobs because we found out Coach Adams retiring, then we found out Mack was not going to get the job at Catholic.
Okay.
We did find that out. So Coach Mack was like, I'm just letting you know I'm going to interview for a few head coaching jobs, but if I don't get them, I'm going to stay here as long as they'll have me.
Right.
And I said, all right, cool, no problem.
Which, that just makes sense.
Yeah, it's fair. And he felt like he was ready to be a head coach.
Right. And Matt was probably cool with that too.
Correct.
Okay.
So I knew he was interviewing for some jobs. He had never asked the question. He comes back after an interview one night, and he was in full suit and tie, and he was like, listen, he was like, I haven't asked you this, but if I get the job, do you want to come with? And I said, like, what am I coming? Like, what do you want me to do? You want me to still coach receivers? Like because like we're gonna need a coordinator. And we know Matt's offense. He said, are you ready? And he just looked at me. He said that. He said, are you ready? And I was like, am I ready? and he was like, yeah, are you ready for offensive coordinator? And I said, right now? He said, yeah. And I said, I was ready as I'm gonna be.
Right.
And he was like, if I get one, do you want to come? Do you want to be the offensive coordinator?
100%.
And at that moment, like part of me was like, there's moments in life when people offer you like opportunities, and you can't just, even if you're not ready, you don't second guess yourself. And I said, yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it. And then I walked away, and I'm like, man, I am not ready for anything that man's about to throw at me. But I said yes.
But you're ready.
But I said yes.
Yeah.
And so he told me that. We find out a week later I'm in Mass at Catholic. He texts me. He said, hey, Pine Forest, I just want you to know Pine Forest has offered me the job. I accepted. Are we still down? And so I didn't even text him back. I'm in Mass. I'm like, oh, crap. And I'm thinking, mind's racing.
Right.
And so he comes up after the school. We sit down, we talk, and I explained to him, I was like, look, I don't know if I'm ready for it, but I'll be ready by the time. It matters. Right. And he said, I can take that as an answer. And I said, you can make me the offensive coordinator, but I'll need your help.
Right, of course.
Like, I'll need your help.
Right.
And he was like, that's fine. And so I told him yes. He agreed. And yeah, we went. Christmas break hit, and we both cleaned out our stuff, and we went. And it was fast. It was probably a 2-week span from the time he interviewed to the time we were gone.
Right.
It was just out of nowhere.
And now a couple of guys came with you.
Yep. We ended up, Coach Lee Burt, he was the DC here at Pine Forest previously with Coach Douglas and all of them.
Right.
He had came to Catholic because Coach Mack was there. They had coached together. And then we brought him back, he's the DC here again, which was good because he already taught here. He was just coaching at Catholic but still teaching here.
Okay.
And then
Continuity.
correct. And then I brought the receivers coach that we had at Catholic who was helping me out, Coach Knowles, over here, and he's doing football, receivers, and basketball as well.
Okay.
And those are the only ones that came.
Right now, you come over here though, and with Coach Mack having a defensive coordinator that he's worked with prior, he can be helpful to you, right?
Yes, yeah. The best thing is Bert is an older coach. Like, he's been in this for a while. He's a smart guy. So, like, and he had been in the same defense that Mac runs.
Right.
So nothing changes. So he knew everything. So now it was kind of shifting to, okay, me and you are going to spend these next couple months getting an offense together and getting you ready for what's about to come, because in April, bullets are going to be flying and we got to be prepared. Right. So I'd say from that Christmas break to late March, it was just up here every single day when we had a chance. It was building the offense. It was making sure I knew what I was doing with certain reads and just what he's like, here's what a defense would do if you did this.
Right.
So then basically the defensive part was the biggest thing for me, is just learning their rules and just how to manipulate them. And he was the best person to get that from.
He's a huge key to your development.
Yeah, he's everything. He's everything.
Right. Now, you didn't just come in and learn new X's and O's, but you didn't just come in and dive into the offensive coordinator role. You also had to kind of mess with the facilities. You guys redid the locker room and all that stuff.
So
you hit the ground running on all fronts.
The funniest thing is Christmas break hit. That was our last day on the job at Catholic. The second day of Christmas break, we had keys to this building, and we came in and redid the entire locker room. Just because I told Coach Mack, I'm not a big believer in facilities make football players, but in my opinion, if you're a football player and you go in the locker room and you have a crappy locker room that looks like crap, even if with no money involved, and then you don't want to be in there. Right. And then afterwards, you don't want to hang out with your boys in there because it looks like crap. Right. And I was like, what if we just cleaned it up? Like, you don't got to do nothing crazy. So we went and bought some epoxy. Me, him, and Coach Burt spent like a week and a half over Christmas break. Didn't go on vacation, didn't do nothing. Just cleaned the floor, stripped the floor, redid the floor, added some benches, cleaned the lockers, added some neon lights, just stuff that is not going to break a bank and doesn't cost anything, but will have a huge impact on the kids. Right. And when they got back from Christmas break, they went nuts, just because now you got to get them out of there. Now they want to be in there, and I think that's everything. And the biggest thing for me is, and I told Coach Mack, and he agreed, where these kids know what we are coaching and X and O's because they've seen how successful we were at Catholic, but these kids don't know us. They can be like, yeah, these guys are good coaches, but they don't care about us. They're just getting here and trying to win games. Right. And I was like, if they came and saw that we spent, while everybody else was on vacation, and they saw that we spent our time in here for them on some transformation, I don't think of a better first impression you can get. Right. And I think that really is what did it. Right. I think that really is what did it.
Absolutely. And so now you have a buy-in from them.
Correct.
You already had the buy-in from you.
Yep.
Do you think that, I have to say that, make the place look good and the guys will care. That feels like a military. First thing you do is you make sure your bed is straight because you've already accomplished something today.
Yep.
Is it similar?
My last year when I was in the Air Force, that famous video came out, and it was that former Navy SEAL. And he was saying the first thing you do every morning is you make your bed. And people were giving you crap because that was the first thing. They made it such a big deal. But he was like, at the end of the day, if you come home and you have a terrible day, at least you come back and you saw the very first thing you did was make your bed, and you at least tried to start the day off right. And you come home to a made bed, and you can try again tomorrow. Right. And I told Mac, I said, that's their bed. That locker room is their bed. Like, when they go in there, like, that's where they're spending most of their time if they're not on the field. That's where they're getting ready. That's where they're talking. That's where they're going over stuff. They're hanging out with each other. And I was like, if you don't give them a clean environment and, like, something they want to come into, I was like, we're not going to be able to keep them here. And I was like, now we got to force them to go home, which is what we want. Right. Like, we don't want them to not want to come here. Right. And I was like, that's the biggest thing, is at Catholic, everything was like really nice facilities. And I was like, we don't have to spend all the money that we did at Catholic to get nice facilities, but you can at least make it look like, hey, we actually care and we're going to take care of this place. Absolutely. So yeah, I think 100% of that was a military thing. Right.
So the way the military shapes you, right, and helps now to shape this program, because I'm sure Kerry has similar ways that he goes about things, right? Attention to detail. That is very heavily influenced. Long hours. Yep. You making sure that everything is organized, making sure that we've dotted the I's, crossed the T's. All that, do you feel like that has really helped you? Because you had a big learning curve.
Yep.
I'm not really all that involved in football, so I'm an offensive coordinator, and there
Yep.
were only a few years in the middle. Do you think the military helped you get there?
Yeah, 100%. Just because, like you said, the attention to detail, like when you're in here doing X's and O's and stuff, it's
Right.
like, look, if you don't see what that safety's doing, then you're going to end up getting a bad play. Or if you don't know what they're going to do when you adjust, how you're going to be able to call it on a Friday night.
Right.
So I think just long hours, attention to detail when you're in here studying, you're putting together game film, and just like keeping everything clean and organized. Just because the kids, I feel like when we got here, the kids hadn't been taught that. And so like for practice, they're scrambling to get ready. And it's like,
Right.
guys, we're going to get out here early. We're going to set things up so that way when the 4 p.m. whistle blows, no one's freaking out.
Right.
Like there's no bullets flying.
Right.
Like everybody's fine.
Right.
And I think that the military is everything. Just because Coach Mack, I don't tell nobody, a lot of people this, but Coach Mack could have been in the military.
Yeah.
He would have been a great officer. Just because he has all the keys, but he just learned it on his own. He came from a low class family and just had to earn everything he's gotten, so he takes care of it. And I think that's a big piece, is just taking care of everything you have, even if it's not the nicest facility. Like if you take care of it, at least somebody will come by and be like, look, he don't have the nicest stuff, but he takes care of what he has.
Right. That's good. That's good. Okay, so let's take a break real quick, and then we're going to come back. We're going to talk about historic Pine Forest High School football program, and maybe hit on a couple of guys to look at, and just talk a little bit more about you. Sound good?
Yeah.
Awesome. Welcome back, folks. This is Surrounded by Sports. That's Tyler Brooks. This show is sponsored by Faust Building, and you can find us on X, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Obviously, you're probably watching this on YouTube or listening on Spotify. Thank you for that. Tyler, we are at Pine Forest High School. This is a Pine Forest helmet. I think I saw a 1979 state runner-up in there in the locker room. I've seen national championship banners around here, state championship banners. We've seen runner-up banners around here. Also, I want to say, you had Pollard, who was a legendary coach.
Yeah, legendary.
Carl Madison, legendary coach.
Yep.
I consider Douglas,
to
be
sure.
a legendary coach. You've had, I want to say that, I know Wade McKinney was the offensive coordinator here. He's a PHS head coach.
Yep.
I think Pollard's OC was...
It might have been Clayton.
Was Bobby Clayton.
I think Clayton was
right.
Here. Yeah.
I think
I know
that's
Clayton was
true.
here on the state championship team.
Right. So what I'm saying is, one guy's the head coach Catholic, one guy's head coach PHS. You're now taking over as the OC here at Pine Forest. People are going to expect points.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
People are going to expect wins, but Cary has an established relationship. Do you feel a little bit of pressure?
Oh, yeah, all the pressure in the world. People joke at me all the time. They're like, when you, like a lot of logos you can run around in this town with, and people think it's just football, but when you run around with a PF or an eagle on your chest, it means something. And, and when something's given, something is required.
Right.
Like Emerson in the NFL, Coach Oliver, who's on our staff, was on the national championship team, Devin Witherspoon, Mac McWilliams.
Right.
There's so much legendary talent and coaching that has been through here that anytime you're, especially in a position of power, in a coordinator position, I think all the pressure in the world is on you, but that's fine. It just builds diamonds, I guess.
Right. It also probably gives you a reason to keep, you're already going to stay dialed in.
Yep.
But it does, that's motivation, right?
Yeah, for sure. Just because, like, I look at some of those guys and where they're at. Like, obviously, Coach Clayton has been successful wherever he's been. Coach McKinney's now at PHS. Coach Douglas was successful. And I think, like, man, if I'm 27 years old, and I might be able to end up there one day.
Right.
If I get this thing going right. And I'm honored, blessed, pressured every single day. I wake up in the morning and I think Pine Forest football. Just because I think God put me here. God put Coach Mack here. And it was for the right reason. So I'm not going to sit there and question his reasoning. I'm just going to make the best out of it. And I told Mac, I was like, look, as long as I'm here, I'm going to give you everything I got every single day, and hopefully wins come with it.
Right, 100%. Now, let's pivot into that, though. Talent is abundant here, and you don't have to go chasing it and try to find it in other regions and bring it here and other districts. It's here.
Yeah, it's here.
So talk about some of these guys.
Yeah, we're loaded, man. It's very exciting times. We got Charson Floyd. He'll be doing his junior campaign at wide receiver. Ja'Cory Thomas is going to be quarterbacking for us, his junior campaign. KT Randall is going to be a junior. I think Ja'Cory might be a sophomore this year, actually. We'll see. I got to remember that one.
Okay.
KT is a big Division I tight end and receiver. He's going to play for us. Kamarion George's another Division I tight end that's going to be for us. Justin Weatherall ended up just coming over from Catholic. He's going to Florida Atlantic. He's at ATH. He plays both sides. Amari Lampkins, he's a running back that not a lot of people know about, but he's done his time.
They're going to know about him.
Yeah, he was behind a bunch of really good running backs, and he's just waited his time. It's his senior year.
Right.
And he's special, man. Defensively, I couldn't even begin to name all those kids. Coach Mack and Coach Bird are loaded.
They're going to fly.
They're going to fly. It's probably I told Coach Mack the other day, and he don't like to admit things, but I said, this is the fastest defense we've coached. And he was like, I don't know, Catholic this year. And I said, Coach, this is the fastest I go against it every day. This is the fastest defense we've coached. And they're really good, and they're sound, but they're so fast. And when you got linebackers running 4.5, 4.4 40s, it's like, holy crap.
Right.
Like you better find some ways to scheme around them.
Right. Now tell me this, too. Now, you named off juniors.
Yep.
You named off sophomores. So this year is huge.
It's huge.
But it's a platform, too, in some ways.
Yeah.
You try to get it all this year, but you also are setting the groundwork for basically who this program is going forward.
For sure. Last year they were somewhat senior heavy offensively, which is really good because a lot of these kids hadn't had their name out there yet, or now they got to put up for their name. They got to make something out of themselves, and we had a really good spring. A lot of kids who didn't know what they were capable of. Coaches came by here and they're like, "Hey, we're going to offer you a Division I scholarship," and that's life changing. Like, especially if you haven't put anything on film, but these coaches just see you and believe in you. That's just life-changing stuff. And so we're really young, I think, but, man, we're smart. We're a really smart group of kids, and I tell the guys all the time that they averaged 9 points a game last year. And I was like, if that don't keep you up at night, then you better find a new sport because this ain't it. And people tell me all the time, they're like, man, with that defense, if you can just get 14 points a game, y'all going to win some games. I'm like, fellas, we're doing a lot more than 14 points a game. Right. At least we better, or I'll be with a different logo on my chest next year.
Well, you assume if your defense is fast, you assume you're going to get a couple more possessions a game than maybe another team would get.
Yeah.
Right? Turnovers, whatever. You assume that you're fast, so you assume that you're going to get some. You're an old special teams coach. We neglected to say that, but you coach special teams at Catholic. So you're expecting some good run backs here and there. You're expecting so you're expecting to be able to put points up.
Yeah, these kids, man, they're so explosive and so fast. Like I tell the kids all the time, guys, when I was at Fort Walton Beach, we didn't have any Division I players, and you had to just scheme up every single way just to have a chance on a Friday night.
Right.
Like you're going against the Nicevilles and the Choctaw, and I was like, you got to coach your tail off.
Right.
And I said, I just got to get the balls in y'all's hand. Right. I just got to get it to y'all in space. Y'all are going to be you. Like these kids will run in the street with each other. They'll go play basketball in the street with each other. They'll go to the beach and play 7-on-7 on the sand. They are explosive, very fast kids, and they just got to have the ball in their hand. They'll make the plays themselves.
Good. Man, I tell you what. So you feel like, as we wrap this show right here, you feel like this is where you should be.
Yeah, this is it. I think the past couple years at Catholic, it was just me validating the reason I got out of the Air Force. It was just, man, this is what you want to do. This is what you need to do. And I think with Coach Mack, I think when he said that, "Are you ready?" It was kind of like it all wrapped up together. Like, this is it. This is what I need to be doing. And it's really not just the coaching. Like, football is what I'm passionate about, but coaching just these kids every single day. Like, whenever I coach something on a Thursday and I see it come out on a Friday, and it's just something I directly went to the kid about, and then they end up scoring a touchdown and getting a highlight. That's my drug. That's my Diet Coke. It gives me a fix. I think this is where I'm supposed to be. I don't know for how long, or for 50 years or 5 years, but this is where I'm supposed to be. And these kids have been nothing but great to me. The alumni, the faculty. Heck, we had the Martin Emerson camp Saturday, and all these guys that don't even know me are like, man, I'm excited. I heard a lot of good things about you. And I'm like, man, I ain't done nothing. Right. I was like, I appreciate y'all. Y'all are just being good alumni.
Right.
But I think in the spring game, it scared a lot of people, to be honest with you, just because they had been used to Pine Forest being down for a year or two, and they're like, man, they're explosive. But if they ever got it figured out, and then that spring game, we came out and we scored some points against PHS, and then we battled with Escambia. Defense didn't give up a single touchdown in those two games. Offense should have scored more. We only got 14. But I think it really put some people like on alert, like, oh crap, like look what's about to go down there. So I'm excited.
But one of the things you guys emphasize around here, it is a Pine Forest staple. You know, Madison, Pollard, Douglas, grit.
Yep.
Determination.
Yep.
Right. That's a big thing you guys do here.
Yep.
But also being where your feet are.
Yep. Yeah. So that was my biggest thing with the kids is a lot of these kids that are going to be stepping into starting roles or backup roles didn't even play varsity last year. Like this is this is a new group. So I'm like, if you're a backup, you need to be doing everything you can that the starter's doing, because if he goes down with an injury one Friday night, guess who I'm going to be looking at? Like, you're back there.
Right.
And I tell the kids all the time, like, look, when I was at Catholic, I wasn't the offensive coordinator, but if you don't think I'm sitting there thinking, what would I have done here, or what do I think he's about to do, you're wrong. Because I'm always preparing myself.
Yeah.
You got to be where your feet are. That's just our biggest thing. And grit, determination, toughness, loyalty, just being around each other. These kids love being around each other now. They love being around us.
Right.
We all love hanging out with each other. And then we have a good relationship where, like, as soon as we're walking out to the practice field, we'll cut up and we'll laugh with each other. But as soon as we touch grass, we know it's game on. And there's a different type of relationship.
Do you think your mentality is I think your mentality is very, what can I do next to make this better?
Yeah, I'm always thinking about something I can do to be better. Just even after the spring game, we scored 14 points in the PHS game. I'm sitting there mad at myself because we could have got 28. Or Escambia, I'm over here watching film like, man, if I would have done this here. Just because I think if you get content, that's when you get comfortable, that's when things start going bad.
Right.
Because I tell the kids every day, you walk in here, you walk past a national championship banner. That's the expectation.
Right.
There's nothing else. Because it's a lot of places they'll tell you, you need to strive for this, you need to strive for that, and they've never done it. So that means they're putting the pressure on you. Mm-hmm. Well, now the pressure is on you because you're walking by and you have a national championship banner hanging. So you can't tell me it hasn't been done here. Or you can't tell me it can't be done here.
Right.
Because it's been done here. And I tell the kids all the time, like, look, Martin Emerson is starting on the Cleveland Browns. Witherspoon's starting on the Seahawks. Mac McWilliams just got drafted. Like, what's the excuse? There is no excuse.
Right.
You can't say it's about where you came from. These
Right.
kids have made it. They made it out. So I think the biggest thing is there's enough motivation in these hallways that get kids going every day where it really don't have to be too much on us.
Dude, thank you so much for giving me time, Coach.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. That is Tyler Brooks, and this is Surrounded by Sports. I'm Kevin Perkins. This whole thing was sponsored by Faust Builders, and we thank you so much for giving us your time and watching this show.